What's going on, everyone? Thanks for joining me today. I'm Turtle, and today we're going to be playing some Esper Control. So before we get into the deck list, I do want to note that we made some changes to the audio. So if you like the difference, be sure to let me know in the comments, and I'll continue to make changes to improve the quality of my content. But as always, if you enjoy the content, just please support with a like, subscribe, and share. And with that out of the way, let's take a look at the list. So a couple of things that I want to point out here. You'll note that I'm running 2 Duress in the main. I basically kind of want to know how this card performs main deck against a Planeswalker heavy meta, especially in a time where people can cast powerful Planeswalkers on turn 2. That's not unrealistic, even in mid-range creature-based strategies. So we'll try out the 2 Duress. I'm also not afraid to run some small amount of Chemistry's Insights with Narset in the format. Insight is still one of the most powerful card draw options. And card draw is important for control decks like this because you really want to be digging to sweepers and removal against mid-range decks to help keep the board clear. Otherwise, you just find yourself trying to go 1-for-1 a little too often, and a 1-for-1 control deck is a control deck that's behind. So finally, in the sideboard, I do want to point out the Elite Guard Mage. You'll see that we're opting for this card. Basically, I bring it in to stabilize against mono red matchups. I prefer it over the Bellhaunt because it's a little less restrictive on the mana, and I like the card draw over the discard. It also flies over blockers to attack into pesky Tidbalts. But other than that, pretty standard control deck here. Sideboard rundown: 1 Elder Spell, 2 Dovin's Veto, 1 D-Spark, 2 Narset, 2 Cry the Carnarium, 1 Ixalan's Binding, the 3 Elite Guard Mage as mentioned before, 2 Enter the God Eternals, and 1 Command the Dreadhorde. So with that, let's go ahead and hop into our traditional rank queue. Play some ranked best of 3. Ops play first. Pretty easy mulligan here. We'll send it back. And this is keepable. We'll probably struggle if this is against like a aggressive deck like mono white or mono red. But we'll see what we can do with this hand. Send the land to the bottom. Alright, so if we get Thought Erasure here on turn 2, it's not going to be good for us. We're going to be pretty far behind with just the 1 spell and lands, depending on... they'll likely take the Liliana Dreadhorde here. Dreadhorde General. But we definitely need to continue to play this game out. It won't take us long to figure out whether or not we're playing against an Esper mid-range Elder Spells to the graveyard, against an Esper mid-range or another Esper Control deck.
My prowess, hone your prowess.
So the Narset is alright. My preference would have been to just slam this Eldest Reborn into it. But we're not going to make it to turn 5 before the opponent takes the Eldest Reborn. There's the risk of double Thought Erasure. Like, we could just play our land to say go, without giving the opponent the option to take this Vraska's Contempt. But we could, or play our land and say go, give the opponent the option to take the Vraska's Contempt or the Eldest Reborn, and they likely would just take the Reborn. or we could give them the chance to take the contempt. I mean, so that being said, it feels like we're giving up the Eldest Reborn either way because it's the better card. So we should just Vraska's Contempt now to not risk something like a Dovin's Veto, or to give them the extra card off the Nar set.
Such violence is upsetting.
It's the predictable play. The opponent knew we had the Vraska's Contempt in our hand. The shock. I'm not sure what the shock means, if that meant like another thought erasure or something, but I would imagine they would have thought erasured first to see what was going on. And search for cancel. So here we are, a bit late with our own thought erasure. And the opponent having the Dreadhorde in hand. So they do get to play the Teferi the next, or actually, unless they draw a land, they get to play the Teferi the next turn. 3 cards in the graveyard, it'll be 4 after we take one. The Dreadhorde is definitely the more dangerous card. I think we need to just go ahead and get that out now, not try to worry about it later. Alright, so we need to get a little deeper in the deck, so we're looking for something like a Duress or Thought Erasure off this card right here. Another land, and we'll pass the turn.
No time for a break.
So at this point, Liliana is already in the graveyard, but we're still drawing to a lot of powerful plays. Mobilized District is it's not the best draw for us right now. With the Tyrant Scorn in hand. But we'll plus.
Here we go.
Play a land tapped and pass the turn. I'm not going to play the Mobilized District just yet. It's not going to get anywhere with the Tyrant Scorn in hand. But I would prefer if the opponent did something. We're on the discard anyway. I would prefer if the opponent maybe tried to find some other reason to cast the Tyrant Scorn before they knew about the Mobilized District. So that's the reason I didn't play it there. And here, we're just really going to go ahead and just slam the cabinet.
Might be a bad idea.
But it's likely this will get bounced by the Scorn, tucked by Teferi, and we're going to lose little Teferi here as well.
Hurry! Let's slow this down. Oh, I've done the hero thing.
Okay, so that's an even better option for the opponent.
It's only a matter of time. Cast down.
Fairy's going to go up to 8 next turn. Opponent does have the Tyrant Scorn. So this appears to be just a pretty heavy Esper Control deck. Well, I guess we can't really rule out the mid-range things like Esper Hero and stuff, because we did see the Basilica Bellhaunt. I'm not even sure if Kefnit is what's going to save us in this game. So drawing it two turns from now, if we even survive that long, is not what I'm looking to do.
Hold that thought. No, I am not making this up as I go.
Alright, so that's the information we needed. Or the confirmation, anyway. Am I ready to pack this one in? Yeah, let's go ahead and pack it up. But the hero is the confirmation we needed. We cannot take out our entire suite of sweepers, so I don't think I'm too keen on the 1-for-1 removal, but I do like the Cry of the Carnariums. We'll cut down 1 Kai's Wrath. I like Ixalan's Binding. We'll bring in 2 Narsets. Since we're bringing in Narset as a source of card advantage, we can go down a little bit in things like the Chemister's Insight. And then I think Dovin's Veto is okay. We have ways to keep Small Teferi off the table, so Dovin's Veto is can still be a playable card. The 1 Eldest Reborn does not seem very good here against Hero of Precinct 1. And we'll take out one more Kai's Wrath since we bought in the. We'll still keep a total of 3 sweepers. So let's submit this. I should have opted for that that second D-Spark. Play first. This is easy keep. Turn 1 duress from the opponent is pretty rough. Likely see our Thought Erasure gone here. So we're not going to get into the opponent's hand, but we still have 2 decent turn 2 plays. I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the Narset. That's a good way to cut off something like
meditate and
opposing Teferi bounce. Oh, they don't go to the graveyard. Whatever. I might have grabbed a Thought Erasure a little too quickly there too. But we'll see what's up. And we'll Thought Erasure before opting to select a card from Narset so we get more information. Another Thought Erasure and Ixalan's Binding. And a Teferi. So the Ixalan's Binding is a little dangerous, but we don't necessarily have to play our Teferi into that. But I don't want to give up my Teferi to the opponent's Thought Erasure. So give it Surveil. And
I have just the trick for this.
so this is a tough decision here. I guess if we end up playing our Teferi and the opponent decides to Ixalan's Binding it, we could always have the Ugin. Hopefully opponent doesn't draw any more discard. But we'll go ahead and get the Mobilize District down to get Summoning Sickness out of the way, so we can attack into opposing Teferi.
Sorry I'm late. Let's try this.
Alright, so definitely shaping up to be a better game for us. I think it's more important for me to... Let's see, the activation cost of this, if I have 2 Planeswalkers down, would be 4. 2. So I can't play the Teferi and attack into the opposing Teferi. But I could bait out the Ixalan's Binding and get a card draw with the Teferi Hero of Dominaria, with still nothing to bounce for the opponent. That seems like the most reasonable option.
Sorry I'm late.
Could tuck the opponent's Teferi away, since I expect them to Binding. We'll draw a card.
Let's skip to the good part.
Opponent has nothing to bounce. They can't draw cards until they get rid of the Narset. And we can at least represent like a Dovin's Veto. I think it's more important for me to just go ahead and draw the card. And we'll see if they drop this Ixalan's Binding. Elder Spell would be a little dangerous here. Alright, so we successfully baited out the Binding, which we also do have a Mortify for.
This is hardly my worst defeat. I've got time.
1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is an interesting opportunity. What we can do here is we're going to actually just go ahead and make this play. But we have the opportunity to play Small Teferi, bounce the Ixalan's Binding, and Elder Spell away the Teferi Time Raveler and the Narset. Teferi would come in with 8. We'll actually just do our own Teferi Time Raveler as well.
If you show remorse, I'll show restraint.
So we'll get the card draw.
Trust me, I have a plan.
Those veto is nice. We won't be able to hold that up, but I don't think it's going to matter once we pop off this Elder Spell. So, yes, I want to target Narset, and I don't mind targeting my own Teferi with this. We'll submit these 3.
My mind needs a rest.
And pop this ultimate. It's going to
I will
be
phase you out of the time
pretty
stream.
hard for the opponents to come back from this, so just the scoop. I'm not interested in taking out the sweepers, even though we did not see any creature-based play from our opponent that game. It's just one of the qualities of the Esper mid-range deck is to really have a creature-based side and a controlling side. So we wouldn't be smart to take out the sweepers in case we run across, like, you know, getting ruined by one hero precinct 1 or something like that. Any other changes I'm willing to make? Maybe this second D-Spark. Let's see where we can squeeze this in. Probably the Vraska's Contempt can come out. If we're hitting Planeswalkers anyway, usually kind of like serving the same purpose for cheaper. Unless we're talking about cheaper Planeswalkers, but we can find other ways to deal with those. I don't think I'm super interested in anything else. So submit this. Alright, so this is a pretty rough hand to keep. Not knowing whether we're going to get to a blue source or not. The turn 1 duress is nice, but an opposing Thought Erasure. Well, I guess opposing duress and Thought Erasure, we get our option to take one of them, but then we do have a little bit of redundancy. Which could give us some time to draw the blue. So we've got our draw step on turn 2. 2 draw steps to find a blue source. And disrupt the opponent. It's hard to throw away, especially with 3 lands. And we're just really in a situation where we just really need 1 blue to keep playing. All right. All right, so not exactly what we're looking for with the isolated chapter, but we'll get in the hand and see what's going on. All right, so 2 Thought Erasures. We're looking at giving up our both Teferis if we take the Search for Azcanta. I think it's more important for us to take one of these Thought Erasures away. Opponent has their pick of what they're going to slam next turn. But I don't think we can afford to have our hand picked apart over the next 2 turns. So the Searcher's Canta is going to be a little tough to deal with if they get the opportunity to get it going before we find something like a Mortify. So they haven't been in the hand yet, so it's fine to just go ahead and play this. But with the Thought Erasure here, it's going to make it a little difficult to play a Teferi Time Raveler into bouncing Hero of Precinct 1. Because then we just give it up to the attacking token. And that makes it a little bit easier. Opponent opting for the Elder Spell. Pretty scary card after we did what we did last game. So, and this is just great. I'm gonna snap this off right now. No reason to let that get more out of control. So if the opponent plays their search here, which they don't, that's fine.
Stand by and watch. That's more like it.
I think we're in a pretty good spot here to go ahead and just play search and get down the mobilized district and give us an opportunity to pressure.
Don't worry, I got this.
Send that to the graveyard. Thought Erasure is nice. I would like to do something like bounce the opponent's search for Azcanta and then Thought Erasure. Unfortunately, we don't have the 2 blue for that. Yeah, we need to go ahead and get this going, get this Surveil going, start filling our graveyard. D-Spark is a nice pickup. Are we going to be able to... 4? No, we're not going to be able to fill the graveyard at all. So let's send that away. We're at 6.
I'll protect you.
And a Bell Hunt. Alright, so Teferi away. Azcanta guaranteed flips. Alright, so what we're looking at here is we could play out the land. There are Teferis at 3. We could bounce the Bell Hunt, and we should be able to pay 3 to attack into the opposing Teferi and finish that off. So that seems like the most reasonable line. The opponent can play the Bell Hunt back down for 3 life gain. Why? Oh my god, auto tapper.
I'm known for my excellent timing.
I guess the risk here is that if we draw something decent, then the opponent is going to get to discard it with a Bell Hunt. And actually that's even better. So we get to play out our hand and still remove the Teferi.
This is hardly my worst defeat.
Opponent going to be flipping Azcanta soon. Not too much we're going to be able to do about that, but... unless we can find a Mortify here. Start the bus.
No, I am not making this up as I go.
We'll do some manual tapping here. Dovin's Veto. Duress. And Cry. So we're not in a spot where we can instant speed Cry against the opponent's Bell Haunt. Playing out the land was kind of a mistake, knowing there's Bell Haunts in the opposing deck. So, do we continue to try to protect this Teferi for one turn with the Mobilized District? It's a little unfortunate. So now we're going to lose both cards regardless of what I do. So we'll see. Maybe opponent doesn't make the play.
We will meet again.
And they didn't. So the Dread Horde is nice. Lets us bring back Teferi Time Raveler and a Bell Hunt. And hold up the Dovin's Veto. Is that powerful enough for my Command the Dread Horde? Maybe not. But Command the Dread Horde is going to get worse as we go along. So, as we continue to take damage from this Bell Haunt, let's pass the turn. We'll see what happens. We'll look for something to play off of the Searcher's Canta. And hold up the veto. And the opponent going for their own Dread Horde right now. Oh, no. Okay. They were looking through the graveyard. Maybe they were thinking about taking a Command the Dread Horde off the Escanta. Teferi. Okay. So maybe the opponent attempts to play this into the veto, and then we'll be able to, just to get a veto out of our hand, and we'll be able to take it. Okay, nope. Mortify. Good pickup here. I'm gonna go ahead and kill the Bell. Thought Erasure. So we could Thought Erasure into Dread Horde. We're looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we get to plus its Teferi and hold up Dovin's Veto again. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That seems like the best play. So we've got enough black here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana after the Thought Erasure. Alright, so Teferi down. Ixalan's Binding on top. I think that's okay. Cast a Dread Horde. We don't want the opposing Teferi, I don't think. But we do want this Hero Dominaria, 1 Bell Haunt, that's 9, and 10, 11, 12. So we'll submit these.
This isn't a fight you can win. If you show remorse, I'll show restraint.
We'll plus jar
Keep up the
Ixalan's
pace.
Binding. And we'll go ahead and bounce a Kaya.
Let's try this.
That speed was really nice. I'm not sure what the first card is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a danger if it's a Teferi. Big Teferi, I think, is a problem. Probably little Teferi as well. But if the opponent knows that they want to get 1 veto out of our hand anyway, I'd rather not give them the information with the second veto. And the Ixalan's Binding. Okay, so no issues there. We'll go ahead and plus this what we draw.
We need to move quickly.
Plus Little Teferi.
I'll protect you.
1, 2, 3, 4. If I activate the Search for Riscanta, that leaves me 4 mana. Not really much I'd be able to play off of that, so we'll go ahead and pass on that option. So with this attack, we'll be able to hold up Nobody's Veto and still activate Search for Riscanta. Pass turn. Oh yeah, plus the untaps. Probably missed an extra card off of Search for Riscanta that way. Second Duress. Opponent didn't play anything last time. If they had that Duress, I imagine they would have played them back to back. So I'm going to assume that they top decked the Duress. We have the Ixalan's Binding, so we'll take a backup Teferi and counter the Duress. Alright, so we lose Little Teferi here. The Elder Spell. Okay, well we have the backup.
I suppose that's how it was meant to happen.
So that's okay. Double backup.
Right on, let's skip to the good part.
Elder Spell is nice. We'll wait a little bit and see if we can make any plays where we get Teferi Ultimate off. How many Thought Erasures have been played? 2 Duress, 3 Thought Erasures. Alright, so that's a little bit reassuring. So we'll go ahead and I don't think I'm attacking with the district. I think I'm gonna go ahead and play the second Teferi. We're not going to plus or minus, I mean, in the face of the
Right on schedule.
Oath of Kaya there.
Here we go.
Hold on. Sorry about that. All right, it's Fairy Time Raveler. Opponent is going to bounce their Bellhaunt, I'd imagine.
Trust me. You'll thank me later.
But this is okay. We're going to go ahead and be able to Elder Spell and get our Teferi ultimate here, barring a Thought Erasure top deck.
There was nothing.
Okay, so no bounce from the opponent. That's a little bit strange. Maybe they weren't considering the Bellhaunt as an option. D-Spark is nice, and opponent will not be able to respond to this. So
Really should have seen that coming. I don't do this lightly.
all right, and that's that. All right, let's get into our next matchup here. All right, sorry about that. I had to step away for a second. So this opening hand, 2 Oath of Kayas and a cast down. We should be decent against creature-based decks. Don't like the all buddy land hand. But if this happens to be something like another Esper Control deck, for example, something where we're getting not playing against creature-based strategy, then we're in a little bit of trouble. But I think most decks in the format right now, are playing things like, if early Land of War Elves plays, if they're in green, even if they are like something like the Simic Ramp deck and stuff. So I think this is fine to keep. Thought Erasure is a good draw. We won't be able to play it until turn 3 at this rate. And against a deck like this, what we're really going to be looking for is something like a Kaya's Wrath. Especially if they're going to be playing Nissas and Biogenic Ooze. Alright, so tough spot here. The Biogenic Ooze has to die before it becomes a problem. So we'll play the tap land. We're looking at taking 5, 6 on the next turn. But I think that's okay since we have the Kaya's Wrath, we'll get our life total back up. So the buddy lands have really set us behind here. Really thrown off our curve.
Curiosity and wonder. Secret manifests before you.
And now at this point, we really need that Kaya's Wrath. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're looking at taking. That'll put us down to 8. Unless we opt to take 6 instead. We could double Kaya's Wrath the Ugin. But with the board in the state that it is, that doesn't seem like it's a winning line to do that over our next couple turns. We're going to have to start taking creatures off the board. This is a good opportunity to try to get rid of the Paradise Druid. But I think it's really probably just the biggest creature here needs to go. If opponent follows this up and slams something like a Nissa, then we might be in a little bit of trouble. So maybe that was an opportunity for me to use the duress after the Kaya's Wrath. Vraska's Contempt is a good answer for the Ugin. So I don't have double black. That's pretty unfortunate. I mean triple. I don't have triple black. If I had triple black, I'd like to duress to get a card out of the opponent's hand in conjunction with this Vraska's Contempt. But the Ugin is going to continue to become a problem if we don't do something right now. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 turn clock. 5 life over the next 2 turns. Should change that math, I think. We'll give it a count in a second.
I must return to meditation.
Still trying to fade that Nissa. Opponent mono green. Mono green. Alright, so what are we looking at here? We're looking at Oath of Kaya into the Paradise Druid. And a cast down. Let's start with the Oath of Kaya. So 4/5 power on the board for the opponent. Maybe I can cast down one of the 2/2s. And that is 3. And then if I shock, that puts us to 10. That's 3 turns. But that'll give me the option to duress and make sure there's nothing like a Nissa in their hand. So the amount of value that the opponent was able to get off the Ugin is really giving us, going to give us some problems here. This is Triumph. Okay, not particularly threatening. But you can see where I was talking about going 1 for 1. I really love a Teferi here. Yep, it's Fairy Time Raveler, perfect. Set the stop. Four, 5, 6. 7. So actually this is a little unfortunate. We're dead if we don't bounce something. We want to be able to plus so that we can hit the Nissa in the opponent's hand.
I know my responsibility.
So I guess we're not going to get that opportunity. So I guess the best option is to probably bounce the 2/2 Thought Erasure. And hopefully get into that sweeper soon. Although at this point it is a little far gone. Or our chances are a little far gone. We'll hold another land. Just makes the opponent think about whether or not we have something. The land's really not doing anything anyway.
Seek shelter in my stewardship.
So, actually, by not bouncing the J-Light Ranger, I did make a mistake on the math there. We are dead if the opponent doesn't attack with the Land of War Elves.
We will meet again.
And so we're not dead. But, you know, there's a land off the top there, so that'll do it. So early mana creatures, I'm interested in these cries. I like Enter the God Eternals against matchups like this. Ixalan's Binding. And we can play a couple Dovin's Vetoes. The Duress are easier to cut now. Commence the endgame. Liliana, Ugin, all good keeps. I'm actually wondering about this Eldest Reborn in the deck in the first place. We need to cut 4 things. I like the second D-Spark. The one Elder Spell is still good. Cut Mortify. A deck like the opponent's is one that could possibly be playing the Immortal Sun. All right, let's submit this. Ooh, that's not keepable. Send it back. This is really hard to keep. We get the Scry. Hopefully we can find at least one black land that'll give us unlock these other spells. And the Cry may be a little ways off, but not interested in going down to 5. Opponent did mulligan, so that's notable. But we'll keep this. Thought Erasure to the bottom. Very interesting. Even with that new information, I think the way that we sideboarded is fine. We still have the 2 Kaya's Wraths, you know. What is this? And here I am stuck on lands with Kaya's Wraths in my deck.
I battled with the forces of good.
This may be an Immortal Sun.
I will not stop.
Pharaoh Statue. Spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast. Yeah, that's they stick that next turn before we can do anything about it. Yeah, that's basically game. No city's blessing yet.
I will not lose another friend.
Okay, well, so a little bit of an unfortunate loss here. But you know, sometimes it's just the way the deck shuffles.
Awaken.
So, if anybody's seen this deck before, feel free to comment on it. I have not, you know, but we'll go ahead and get out of here. I think if we hit our land drops, you know, we have a pretty competitive play against a deck like this. At the end of the day, it's still just, you know, a mid-range strategy. So we'll go ahead and get into our final match. The danger of playing against, you know, one of the, like a heavy green strategy like that, like you saw in game 1 of that match, is getting to powerful plays like Ugin and Nissa way ahead of curve, you know, when you do things like Llanowar Elves on turn 1 and Paradise Druid on turn 2. Can really lead to some pretty powerful plays. So here we are again in a situation where we can get a card draw off of Teferi Time Raveler. Hitting land drops is nice, but these are the hands that you keep, and then, you know, you kind of get paranoid about that risk of flooding out without ever being having to anything meaningful to do. So it's game 1. In the dark, I don't think this hand is worth keeping. Because we could play a Teferi Time Raveler against like an Esper strategy or something. We don't even get to do anything if there's a Thought Erasure on turn 2, and then we're just stuck. If it's an aggressive strategy, we don't really get to do anything because we're going to play a Time Raveler into a board with maybe 1 or 2 creatures on it already. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and ship this back. We'll try again. This is a lot more reasonable. We have the scry and the cast down, so we'll go ahead and take this scry land at the top and be on our way. All right, so we are looking at mono red. Playing a card like Teferi Time Raveler against a deck like mono red can be a little bit tough. You know, a lot of the things that you would bounce, things like Fanatical Firebrand, aren't worth bouncing. Vioshino Pyromancer, Chain Whirler, Gitu Lava Runner in a situation where it does have haste. Early on in the game, I think a Gitu Lava Runner is fine to bounce, but you know, opponent sitting here with this Firebrand on the board, it's something that I would, depending on what they play here, consider casting down, and I do like that. So we'll go ahead and cast on the Firebrand, and we'll shock on turn 3 for the Teferi, and bounce the Steamkin. I'm interested in finding the next
not
mana
going to
source for
sit
this Kefnet, so
I've got time.
definitely okay with this play. If not, we have the Mortify. Let's see if the opponent has like a shot to follow this up. Yep, here it comes.
Only time will tell.
Alright, so we're still missing that land drop, but I think once we stick a threat like God Eternal Kefnet, I think we should be able to stabilize pretty quickly after that, especially with a card like Vraska's Contempt in our hand. Alright, so this is worth shocking for. There's a risk to leaving the Steamkin in play, but the toughness and reoccurrence of the Kefnet, I think forcing the opponent to find a way through that, spending multiple cards, is something that I'm willing to try to force on them. Okay, so that's good. Is the opponent willing to attack into this? I guess they wouldn't be able to do that. I guess if they play the Lava Runner, the Steam King goes up to 3. They attack in. If I block, they spend the mana, or it goes with 3 counters, so toughness of 4. If I block, they spend the mana, it goes down to 1, and they cast the Lightning Strike. Then it goes back up to 2, and both cards trade. So we do get the Steamkin off the field if that's the case. Do I want to take 4? Okay. So just another Lava Runner here. Alright, so here we are taking 6. Uh, 9. I definitely can't take 9. So we'll go ahead and trade off this Steamkin, get it off the field. We'll put Kefnet back in the deck. And we're likely looking at casting this Vraska's Contempt next turn. If I play the Teferian plus, is it likely the opponent attacks into the Teferi instead? Probably not, seeing as how that brings us down to 2. Their attack would bring us down to 2, so we'll go ahead and see if we can change the clock a little bit. We're looking at a 4 mana. Hopefully it's not something like a Frenzy. Okay. So if it's a burn spell, we're pretty SOL. think it's a Fairy Plus gives us
Unknown. Hurry!
the most options over the next 2 turns. Alright, no burn spell from the opponent.
Hold that thought.
Are they just still holding it? So, I guess that basically looks like it. We can't play the Teferi and the Kefnet. We could use the Teferi, bounce. That leaves 2 mana. The Thought Erasure doesn't do anything at that point. We would need to find like a Moment of Craving, but that's not even in the deck. So what are we looking for here? A Vraska's Contempt and an untapped land. Close. Close. One card off. Well, I guess we wouldn't have gotten there because we wouldn't have been doing something like Commissions Inside anyway, but... Alright, well, we'll go ahead and pack this one in. And see what we can do about making this matchup more manageable. Alright, so this is an easy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll cut 1 Kaya's Wrath. We'll cut the Duress. Go down to 1 Search for Azcanta. Cut it to Teferi Time Raveler. The Elder Spell. Eldest Reborn, 1 Teferi. Maybe we want the 2 Duresses. If there's anything else left to bring in here. Let's give it a shot. I'll have to play first. And I don't think we're in danger of getting terribly run over with 1 Dovin's Veto in hand. Stop something like a turn 3 Tybalt. Early light up the stage. We wanted to test out the Elite Guard Mages, so let's give them a stress test and see how this game plays out. Push them to their limit. Maybe the correct play was the Drowned Catacomb, Water Grave on turn 3. The opponent could attack him for 1 here and get off a light up the stage. Should have been ready to try to deny that. But then light up the stage, the super early light up the stages are sometimes not the most as threatening as the later ones. Unfortunately, opponent did hit two really good spells off of that. You know, they could skewer the critics. Critics now still have a one turn bolt for next turn. But they opt for the Wizard's Lightning, I guess, in case they lose the Lava Runner. Unfortunately, we did have lands already, and we've drawn 2 lands off the top. So we're really looking to veto something like a Tibalt here. I don't think I'm interested in wasting the veto on this skewer the critics here. We're gonna get our life gain back over the next couple turns. Okay, so opponent playing pretty cautious here. Let's gain our life, draw some more cards, and we'll look to see if the opponent plays more creatures into this cry. Expect this to get struck off. Thought Erasure is nice. Since the opponent has decided to keep a pretty full hand, has not really emptied things out. There's the predicted burn spell. That's specifically one of the situations where the Bellhaunt is better than the Guard Mage. It requires lava coils, multiple burn spells to get rid of. But I still think the things like the card draw, instead of forcing the opponent to discard and stuff like that, you know, are better. This is a pretty interesting turn 5. If I Thought Erasure now, the opponent will Thought Erasure back the next turn and take the Elite Guard Mage or the Liliana. So I could just cast a Cry of the Carnarium and hold up the Dovin's Veto, not Thought Erasure, until the Daredevil is gone. We'll still have the veto to be able to counter any significant play from our opponent. And then we could follow up the next turn with a Thought Erasure Guard Mage or a Liliana as appropriate. So I think that's probably the most important thing right now, is since this was revealed, not playing the Thought Erasure into the Daredevil like I on this turn. So Cry. And see what's next. Okay, so that's a decent sign, opponent opting for the threat. And the risk factor. I don't want them to have cards. I could just counter this, but I think countering this is just as good as, or using the counter now instead of trying to hold it for later when I have the Thought Erasure in hand. I think I'll use the counter now. We'll stop this 4 damage. All right, so let's Thought Erasure. We'll take the Lava coil. At this point, for the risk factor, I will take the damage. We'll go down to 10. And do I make the opponent use the shock now? Yeah, life total's low. We don't get a 2-for-1 out of it, but I think it's okay. So here we get to start plussing our Liliana.
I require servants. Your court is smelly but effective.
And I'm just going to use these zombies and just block all day. Keep drawing cards. We have the Vraska's Contempt for a Chandra or for a Tybalt. Interesting to note, you do still get the your life gain off of the Vraska's Contempt on Tybalt, I believe.
Right on schedule.
We're not going to bounce anything here.
Don't worry, I got this.
Just going to draw a card and go about our business. Opponent can't attack into the 2 zombies unless they draw a burn spell, but that's likely going to go at the Teferi if they do. Or try to keep the Liliana off ultimate. Alright, so Pyromancer is fine. They're going face. We still have the Vraska's Contempt. So as long as the Teferi stays on the field, they're not going to be able to try to burn us out in response to the Vraska's Contempt.
That's more like it.
Still drawing a lot of lands.
Rise and shine.
I think I'm going to try to keep the Lily out on our round past ultimate. Life total starting to get dangerously low, but we're going to need the card draw. I'm going to start attacking in with some zombies. Oh, sorry about that.
This isn't a fight you can
Your
win.
corpse will make an excellent minion.
Okay. And Ender, the God Eternals, is great. We're going to get... I don't think we left any Chemister's Insights in our deck. I don't think I want to mill the opponent knowing they're playing risk factors. So let's enter the God Eternals on the Daredevil. We'll mill ourselves. Good mill. Get all these lands out of the way. I'm not really interested in trying to do that at instant speed. I need to go ahead and start getting
Oh, I've
something
done
going
the
right
hero
now.
thing before.
So we'll plus. We have the 2 blockers. So
Good help
we'll
is
attack in
easy to
with
find
3
in
zombies.
war.
Go ahead and close this game out. And this should be pretty out of reach for it now. They'll probably look at one more card. do draw a risk factor. We'll resolve it. We'll take the damage. And we'll go ahead and ultimate this Lily.
Oh my. I seem to have laid waste to your army. Oops.
We'll go ahead and attack in with everything. Give the opponent the option to trade off the Pyromancer first. Get a card draw out of it before we waste the rest as contempt.
Trust me, I have a plan.
Get on to game 3. Hopefully it plays out similarly. Similarly. No changes necessary. So we saw a risk factor over the course of the 4 games, or 2 games, I mean. We yet to see any experimental frenzy from the opponent or any Chandra. I have to imagine that their list is playing at least one of those cards. So a pretty tough hand to keep here. If we stumble, we're going to be in a pretty bad spot with just the 2 lands in hand. I would like to have seen a third, probably in lieu of something like this Liliana. That being said, opponent is on the play. We are on the draw. But I think with so many 4-drops, we can't really... I don't think we can really keep this against mono red. It's too easy to get run over. Soul Mulligan. This is worse. This is way worse. Our best hope is to use the Scry to put a black land on top. Thought Erasure on turn 2 to surveil into a black land. And then Cry the Carnarium. So do we go to 5 here? Opponent kept 7. A mono red player that's keeps on 7 is pretty dangerous. Alright, this is better. Not interested in that without finding the lands for it. Yeah, we need we're gonna need some early play. Again, we're sitting with all buddy lands in hand. And maybe it was worth keeping. Oh, it's a tough call, not knowing what's on top. And yeah, sure, I guess we would have hit it on curve. But still, I don't think it's a risk that I could consider taking. Tybalt here, Chain Whirler here. Both would be pretty pretty bad plays for our opponent to make against us. But, I mean, you know, good plays for our opponent to make, but things that'd be hard for us to deal with. All right, so here, what I think needs to happen is Kaya's Wrath of Pyromancer. On the next turn, Teferi bounce the Kaya's Wrath. Oof, that's rough. Take it for now. Yeah, this hand has just been a little too slow, a little too dirtily. It would have been nice now after, in hindsight, to have this Enter the God Eternals to play catch up. Would have done a good job of that. All right, so now with the cast down in hand, I think the play is to cast down the Pyromancer before we use the Teferi Time Raveler. So, opponent running out of cards. We just can't. Maybe maybe I give them their cards this time. Since they can't really make any meaningful plays this turn. We didn't lose any life, so they won't be able to light up the stage. Still, 3 cards hurts. When I play mono red, I don't know if risk factor is ever this good for me. But a light up the stage there would have been pretty backbreaking. So now we've got a pretty big decision. If the opponent continues to do more risk factoring, we're going to have to give them their cards. But the Lava Runner still gets to attack in 4, 5, 6. We could bounce the Lava Runner and try to keep them off of double risk factor.
Sorry I'm late.
But bouncing the Oath of Kaya doesn't really get us anywhere. So maybe the play is to just plus. Hopefully they can't string together enough damage to kill us next turn. That's not likely. I have a lot of cards.
This might be a bad idea.
Okay, so I have to decline the damage here. We'll see if they cobble together 4 points worth of damage out of 5 cards. 3 mana. Okay, so that's reassuring. It looks like the opponent may be considering that they have to attack this Teferi. Trying to decide what their options are.
honor to break your mind. My assistants are
And the
painfully
Tybalt.
sloppy.
So now are we looking at playing to commence the end game or playing the bouncing the Oath of Kaya? If we bounce the Oath of Kaya, we draw a card, we play it, we kill the Tybalt, but we don't get any life. So it looks like we're not in a situation where we're going to get life anyway. So maybe we start with a bounce on the token.
That's more like it.
And we have a Mortify. So it's getting more and more likely that we just get burned out from hand. So Shocker Lightning Strike here. Pretty unrealistic for the opponent not to have the game right now. Okay. All right. So I think we went on a 1 for 2 there. Little unfortunate, but I think the round 2 matchup, I don't really necessarily think that was what you would consider a bad matchup for us. But other than that, I do appreciate everybody watching. Like I said, please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. I'm going to continue to put out more matchups with different decks on the competitive ladder. And as always, like and subscribe, share with your friends, let them know to come watch me playing Magic here. Like to see your comments, and thanks for joining me. Have a good one.